Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to place our first modular on the middle set of tables in the city, starting with this base plate here. Right, so the first thing is to get this temporary base plate up so we can get the standard modular in position. And the modular I've chosen to go into this spot is set 10232, the Palace Cinema. Ta-da! And this is a pretty good set actually. When I first saw it, when it came out, I was really underwhelmed, if I'm completely honest with you. I looked at all the pictures, as I always do when there are new sets out, and I just thought it was a bit too niche in that why is it sort of an oriental themed cinema? I know there are a few in America, in some cities like Los Angeles, but it just seemed a bit too specialised and not something that you would see in real life Nottingham or even brick Nottingham. The other thing was I had a cinema already, being my Art Deco cinema, and having two in close proximity didn't seem like a great idea. Then there's a few problems with the set, in my opinion. Starting on the ground floor, there is the red open base plate rather than a tiled floor. And I get what they were doing here. They were just using it as a red carpet rather than tiling it. And I guess that works. But the red colour can be seen through these grille pieces. And if you didn't tile all of your pavements, then it'd look pretty awful. So that's something we can sort by moving these grills further out into the street. Also, there's a few bricks that are visible from the side, being these black 1x1 modified bricks that hold these three lamps. It's almost tempting to remove the interior lamps to get rid of the black squares that are just halfway up the wall on the other side, especially as that side of the building is the side that we're going to have visible from the railway line, though at least when other things are built up it won't be crazy visible. Now while we're here, one amendment I've made already to the ground floor is removing two of the 1x2 Technic bricks that are used to connect modulars together, and I've taken them off that side because clearly it won't be connecting with something where the railway tracks are, so it's just good to remove those two Technic holes from my perspective. The ones on this side I've left in because it will have a neighbour on this side that'll be either linking into those or just blocking them. And I'm thinking that might be the new modular for 2020, the bookstore. So I'm definitely going to get that. It's just whether it is the modular that goes in that position. Now, when it was released, I also wasn't too keen on the second floor, given that we've got an open projector, which seems very sort of antiquated, 6 whole seats, and a sort of small screen. I'm all too aware, having designed modulars myself, of the difficulty of getting everything working and the limitations of the space and so on, but it just seemed a bit lackluster to me. I was considering changing this from a cinema into a theatre and having a small stage on this end, and then you could get rid of the projector and arguably add another row of seats as well. But if I've learnt anything from doing my Grand Emporium and Casino over there, is that when you spend a lot of time on the interior of a modular, it often isn't seen because you're not forever lifting the lid off. But at least this one's a bit nearer, so I technically could. So I'll never say never on that one, but it's definitely not a priority to turn this into a theatre. Now the last floor, being the roof, I also wasn't too happy with when I first saw it, because look at that for an awful view. These bits of roof aren't really roof, they sort of flap around and are kind of facades of a roof. And worse than that, this tower bit, though it looks great from the front, is completely empty and you can see all the workings. So I really don't like that. So I'm going to do a huge scene on the top of this roof because A, it's a lot of wasted space, so I'm going to use it as best I can. And also I'm going to make it look quite exciting, so hopefully it will distract the eye when you're over there looking this way and you can see it. it'll distract the eyes. So you won't notice all the ugliness that's also on view. But the main viewing angle of the room is pretty much the same as the camera's perspective right now. So you're able to see everything from the front, see all the lovely lights, the great big canopy and sign, and all in the windows, and even these lovely stars on the street, which sort of echo Hollywood Boulevard. And I've actually bought some more of these tiles so I can have a lot more as well. Now, don't worry, it's not me just doing a little review of this set. I intend to take this to the next level by, first of all, adding a huge street scene, which will be based on the premiere of one of the movies advertised here, The Brick Separator. And then I intend to do another big scene on that flat roof, as I've alluded to. So let's start with the street scene. Right, so for this scene, I've got quite a few props. The first one is a pair of these searchlights that come with the set, and they'll be sort of roughly at the front, I think, pointing upwards at the building in a sort of retro way, firing their light onto the tower. I think that'll be really good. Then I thought I'd have a snappy dressed commissionaire type employee with his cap on and his very smart tunic, opening the doors for the distinguished guests. Now, he's from the recent Capital City set, 60200, where he's the hotel employee. And the distinguished guests, first of all, is the double Oscar-winning Hollywood starlet from Series 9. And obviously she looks fantastic in her evening dress. And she's got, obviously, those two Oscar statues. So I thought she could be coming in, having just been dropped off. And then I thought, who else have I got in incredibly posh evening wear? Well, this was Professor Flitwick from the Harry Potter series of minifigures, but I decided to yellow him up because I don't want skin tones in my city. Otherwise, I left him completely unchanged, so he's still got his tails on and his lovely suit and bow tie. And I thought, because he's really short, he could either be sort of an actor like Danny DeVito or something like that, that's a bit short in stature, or maybe he's a child actor, who knows. But he's also a star in this movie, so I thought he could be another distinguished guest. He's also going to need a jumper plate, quite clearly, as they all are, so he doesn't fall down. Then, depending on how it looks, I thought if there's room, I might have another distinguished guest, and who could be more distinguished than the Queen? Elizabeth II. Fantastic. So she could be coming in, and if she is, then we'll also have her personal protection officer, who's obviously mic'd up, dark glasses. He's probably armed to the teeth underneath that jacket. So we may have him as well. Now I'll have him sort of looking very discreet, perhaps, against the wall. Obviously, I've got to position all these a lot better than I am just throwing them in now. I've got another star. I don't know if I can get that in somewhere, maybe a bit further down the road. And then, if you remember recently, I got these brick separator 1x8s. So that's a really interesting brick. And it's also the film that's advertised on this hoarding here, the Brick Separator. And I thought I could combine this 1x8 brick with a sort of standard barrier for keeping back the fans, one on top of the other, and create something like this, which is almost like a sort of Jersey barrier type thing, which is almost, a barrier with built-in advertising for the expensive premiere that everyone's attending. So if I do that with both bricks, then roughly speaking, I can have a couple of barriers going down this way with the screaming fans the other side of it. And I just wanted some really bright and wacky screaming fans. So I thought, let's get some bright, colourful minifigures with cameras. And what could be more bright than this girl with her Fabuland top on and the best ever pink afro hairdo. and she looks very, very happy to be there. And I'm happy to have her because she looks absolutely great. So she'll be something like that. And I got a man who's having a moment, going a bit crazy. I have him, and then I've got 2 more people. Boy in a wheelchair with his camera, with his mum, with her camera as well. So I thought they could be in the queue as well to see the film. So I'm going to arrange all that, and then I'm also going to put on some tiles to finish off both this part and this part of the pavement as well. So I think that's going to be a pretty fun scene. So there we are. I've done all the tiling, putting in jumper plates where I want to put minifigures. I've also mounted these searchlights to jumper plates so they're staring up at the building and won't get knocked over. I've also gone right up to the edge of the rail line, adding in that extra star, even though it's right next to the rail tracks. I think that'll make it look more seamless. And while I'm talking about the railway line, I can actually put in the second crash barrier now, or protection barrier, whatever they're called, which you can only just see on shot there, but nonetheless you can see that's working and matches the one on the other side. So that's all good. Right, so now I just need to put everything in place for the premiere, and you can see I've already got the commissionaire opening the door with a great big smile. So first line has to be the Queen, doesn't it? Most important person of all. Then we'll have her protection officer lurking in the background, all mic'd up. And then we'll go for the Series 9 Hollywood starlet. And I might add some paparazzi sort of along this pavement as well, so they're all snapping away at her. And then the child star following close behind. So there's all the dignitaries. Now for the common fans. So we've got the man who's very excited, the lady who's very excited with her fantastic pink hair. I love that. I've been dying to use that pink hair since I got it. And then we've got the barriers, so I'll just put one there. And the good thing about using these jumper plates is they'll stay in place, but you can also do things at slightly non-90 degree angles, whereas if I put this on studs, they'd be straight. So if we've got them both sort of bowing a little bit, and then I can put the boy in the wheelchair with his mum pushing. Fantastic. Oh, I really like that scene. It looks busy and hustle and bustle. It'll obviously look a lot better when there's not open fields next to it, but it's looking a lot more complete. And I've moved the grille pieces out onto the grey so they aren't showing the red through the base plate. And I think the stars still show up quite visibly on the sort of Hollywood Boulevard type stars, so I like those. And the only bad thing is that I've already used 34 more 2x4 tiles in light bluish grey, and I only just bought 100. It's really not going to last me very long at all, is it? I'm going to have to start thinking of alternate tiling strategies, but I really don't want to go bare base plate because I think it looks so much worse than when you do it nicely like this. But there just is no cheap way, it seems. Right, onto the roof. And so onto the illegal wrestling den. Now for this I need some stands on each of these 2 sides to be watching the ring in the middle. And for the first stand I've got people from, well, I was going to say all walks of life, but maybe not quite. Here I've got a couple of criminals and a workman who's really enjoying it, standing on his chair. And this lady who I definitely wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley, who's got a hint of a hairy chest. Don't know what's going on there. And pride of place, front row seat, an Alien Conquest alien, because who's to say whether it's just people from Earth who enjoy wrestling. So if I put that stand in, then that partially conceals the ugly roof. And then I can fit in a longer stand along the other dimension. And I've got a heavy metal fan, another criminal, another workman, and yet another criminal, because it is an illegal wrestling den after all. And who's to say young ladies don't like wrestling as well? So that's Dorothy from the Lego Movie 2, except I've given her yellow limbs. So that's a good improvement from my perspective, getting rid of the skin tones, just so everyone's consistent, really. That's the main thing. I mean, 90% of my people are yellow skinned. So if I just change the odd one, so they are too, it makes them all match. Right, so what are they watching? Well, you can see where the legs are, so should be fairly self-explanatory that we are watching a wrestling ring, which is a fairly simple construction. Just copied one that somebody else had already done on the internet. It's a bit different from the boxing ring that makes up part of the diner set. And then the two wrestlers that I'm going to have going at it are El Macho, who is the wrestler from the set 70809, which is Lord Business's evil lair. So he's rather fantastic. He does come with a cloak, but I've taken it off because I don't want him getting strangled, but I just love his moustache. And obviously he's got the sort of Mexican style sort of get up. So I have him in this corner. And opposite him, you've probably guessed, is the Series 15 wrestling champion, who's really rocking a Ultimate Warrior vibe with that face paint and these bright colours and the ties around his elbows. Oh, just lost the focus there. There we are. And that fantastic sort of mullet hairdo. Brilliant. So he can be in this corner. And it's ding ding round one. So they're just about to start going at it. And then just because I thought of it, I thought I'd have to do it. And I know it's not really wrestling, it's really boxing. But I thought I'd have a promoter in there who's the ringleader. And I thought I'd do a Lego Don King. So anyone who is familiar with any, I suppose, 80s and 90s boxing would know that Don King was the incredibly charismatic and spiky grey-haired individual who was supporting many of the talent in that era, like Mike Tyson and so on. He was just always on TV and larger than life. And I thought I'd get a similar looking guy done up in a fantastic suit with a grey, charismatic, spiky hair and glasses. And I thought I'd put him just to one side, having probably taken all the ticket money and organised the whole thing. So it's a bit odd, bit different, but I thought much better than a huge, flat, empty and ugly roof space. So here we are. We've installed the Palace Cinema set 10232 and two interesting scenes, one being the premiere of the brick separator with the starlets and even the Queen attending, and the beginnings of a queue, even though the canopy says 3 clicks and a snap is showing with mini figure. Good joke there. And then we've got on the roof the illegal wrestling den. There's one side. And the other. So you can see that from all over. And you can kind of see it a bit from the front. But that's good because it draws in your eye and you sort of think, oh, what are they doing on the roof? So I think that's really interesting. And then down here we've got the vehicle for the day, populating our roads slowly. And this is the kind of custom rat rod type vehicle that came with the police dog unit set 60048. And I really like that. It's kind of a, I don't know my cars that are old, but it looks like a sort of Model A Ford conversion or something like that, or a Model T Ford conversion. I'm not entirely certain of the difference, but it's kind of got a flatbed truck bed at the back. with a crate full of tools. And this one does have a driver. It's when I first did my Caravanette RV vehicle, it didn't have a driver in it. So there we are. Awesome. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, after doing a brick haul on Wednesday, I think I'd really like to get this plot done with the last shop in this run, because I've got all the pieces for that. At least I will do after that haul. And it's looking very incomplete without it. And then I can start going around this corner and focusing on reaching the beach. So, see you then!